Greetings, everyone. This is Mountain Spirit Witch. As we are approaching the American Thanksgiving holiday, it's very interesting to explore the history of this holiday and the dark side of this holiday. It seems to me that this holiday is about the celebration of killing. And of all the holidays in America and probably across the world, this holiday seems the most sinister and the most evil and dark of all the holidays. Generally, people tend to think maybe Halloween is a dark holiday. I happen to disagree. Halloween has a lot of positive aspects. And when we consider the wheel of the year, then Halloween has a very good significance. And when we consider the wheel of the year, we see that this Thanksgiving holiday doesn't exist on the pagan calendar. It is not one of these celebrations. It's not one of the solstices or the equinoxes. It's not a celebration of any sort. It is strictly a holiday that is celebrating from the past, celebrating massacres of Native American Indians. And since there's no Indians to kill today, instead they revert this killing towards turkeys. Did you know that 46 millions of turkeys are slaughtered each year just for this holiday? And that doesn't count for the remainder of the turkeys slaughtered the rest of the year. So today we're going to explore two things. We're going to explore the what happens with turkeys each year for Thanksgiving, and then we're going to explore the history of the Thanksgiving holiday. All right, so first we're going to start off in a discussion about turkey life, okay? So in nature, turkeys have long been admired for their striking beauty and alluring disposition. Yes, when I was traveling in California in the Sierra Nevada mountains, there's wild turkeys, and they are the most magnificent birds. When you see them, they're basically going around in little family groups with their little young chicks, the baby ones, going around and looking for food, and they run across the road and stuff, and they're such a joy to watch and observe. So driven by an unyielding sense of curiosity, they roam their native woodlands and grasslands in search of food, shelter, and mates. Earlier in our country's history, Benjamin Franklin lobbied for the native wild turkey to be our nation's national bird, calling them a respectable bird and a bird of courage. So that's very interesting. How did a respectable bird and a bird of courage end up being the bird of choice for slaughter for a ridiculous holiday called Thanksgiving? Many naturalists echoed Franklin's statement. Red, copper, and green feathers shimmer amongst the surrounding black feathers, while their expressive eyes give an insight to how they perceive their surroundings. Aside from their magnificent beauty, turkeys are highly social birds. One of their most social activities is foraging for food. It is not uncommon to see multiple families foraging together as they search for acorns, fruits, and seeds. Yes, that is what I witnessed. Over a period of months, parents teach their offspring where to find food and how to elude predators. Although they prefer the protection of isolated woodlands, families commonly wander for miles to find the food they require. At night, families roost in the trees from the threat of the ground predators. One of the turkey's most notorious attributes is their intricate and elaborate mating ritual. It is a memorable event for anyone who appreciates the eccentricities of nature. The courting begins with the male puffing up his chest and tail feathers to make himself look as big as possible. Above his beak, his colorful snood becomes more pronounced, and air sacs in his neck slowly inflate and deflate, causing a low-pitched vocalization. Once he has the female's attention, he slowly turns in circles, raises and lowers his legs, oh my gosh, and occasionally vibrates his wings to display vibrant feathers reserved especially for this occasion. The entire session can last for hours. This kind of reminds me of the peacocks, in fact. In industrial animal factories, turkeys know nothing of a natural life. The goal of industrial farming is to manipulate an animal's nature to make them grow as fast as possible with the least expense. For turkeys, this flawed equation involves intense confinement, genetic engineering, and a series of painful mutilations. I want to point out something right here. The documentary Forks Over Knives, they try to show that more sustainable farming is good, that you can raise birds and turkeys and chickens in such a way as to make them live more natural lives and that sort of thing. Well, one of the persons in there was a turkey and chicken farmer, and he was taking and they might be living lives, out there pecking around on the ground in a more natural way, but when it comes to the end of their life, it's as brutal can get. And he did this right on video, taking the bird and chopping off its head while it was alive. I couldn't bear to watch it. Slung the bird upside down and chopped off its head while it was alive. And you think this is some kind of humane treatment of animals? And the whole point of the documentary was to try to show sustainable and humane treatment of animals and sustainable farming? Excuse me? There is no such thing as humane treatment of animals if the result of the farming results in the slaughter of the animal. No matter which way you're going to slaughter it, that's a violent act, cruel, and unnecessary. Just think, all these millions of Americans going to be celebrating their Thanksgiving with a turkey on their table. No consideration that turkey's got its head chopped off and suffered a very painful life and suffered a very painful death. No consideration to this. 46 million turkeys, each one of them a living being that didn't need to be slaughtered, didn't need to be killed. There are plenty of other flesh-free foods you can eat on Thanksgiving. Nobody needs to be eating a turkey. All right, back to the information here. So, the goal of industrial farming is to manipulate an animal's nature to make them grow as fast as possible with the least expense. For turkeys, this flawed equation involves intense confinement, genetic engineering, and a series of painful mutilations. Turkeys raised for meat bear little resemblance to their wild ancestors. The industry has no regard for the animal's instincts or general well-being. They are treated strictly as a commodity. The process begins in the breeding facilities. Males and females are kept in crowded sheds where workers manually extract semen from the males and artificially inseminate the females. These are some of the most miserable birds, as they must endure this crude practice repeatedly over a period of years. When their breeding capabilities decline, their exhausted bodies end up in a variety of low-quality processed foods. The young hatchlings are transported to larger facilities where they live the remaining portion of their brief lives. With thousands of individuals crammed into a single shed, they struggle to move past each other as they walk through an ever-increasing layer of excrement. Over time, their feet and breasts become ulcerated from the uric acid. The intense smell of ammonia combined with the sound of thousands of birds calling out simultaneously creates an extremely stressful environment. Overcrowded conditions also cause the turkeys to be unnaturally aggressive. Rather than make changes to the environment, painful alterations are made to the bird's anatomy. To keep them from pecking at each other, half of the upper beak is cut off and the lower beak is blunted. No anesthetics are used. In the weeks after the painful debeaking, the birds have to learn how to drink and eat with their deformed beaks. In addition to debeaking, the turkeys must endure another mutilation. A significant portion of each toe is clipped off to keep the birds from damaging each other during the mating season. Once again, no anesthetics are used. The birds walk differently from that day forward. Males experience the added pain of having their snood cut off, since it serves no purpose in this artificial environment. Over the past several decades, industrially farmed turkeys have been selectively bred to an extreme. They grow so fast and large that their bones and organs cannot keep up. Many of the turkeys die prematurely as their legs and hearts are strained to the point of failure. Those who don't succumb to fatal injuries are slaughtered at 16 to 24 weeks of age. Transporting turkeys to the slaughterhouse is an extremely traumatic event. Before they can be loaded into the trucks, they must be physically collected. Workers disperse through the shed, snatching up the turkeys and forcefully loading them into the transport carts as fast as possible. In the process, many of the turkeys suffer broken wings and legs. The crates are then loaded onto large flatbed trucks. During transport, the unfamiliar sights, smells, sounds, and movements cause severe stress too. Current laws allow transporters to travel up to 28 consecutive hours without a rest period. The 28-hour period can be extended to 36 hours by simply submitting a written request. During this time, the turkeys are deprived of food and water. Many do not survive the trip. When the turkeys arrive to the slaughterhouse, the crates are unloaded and stacked onto conveyor belts. One by one, the turkeys are removed from the crates and shackled by their feet. Hanging upside down, they struggle to free themselves as they are passed through an electric water bath, designed to stun them before they are killed. In many industrialized animal factories, the killing lines move so quickly that many of the turkeys are not properly stunned. The next station consists of automated blades that cut their throat as they pass by, causing them to slowly bleed to death. Those who were not properly stunned either suffer a slow, painful death or manage to avoid the automated blade. However, their fate is the worst of all, as the next station is a scalding tank designed to remove their feathers. Poultry scientists acknowledge that when the turkeys do not bleed to death, they can regain consciousness before entering the scalding tank, in which case they are boiled alive. Once the feathers have been removed, a series of eviscerating machines remove the head, feet, and internal organs. In the United States, an estimated 46 million turkeys are killed each year for Thanksgiving alone. Thanksgiving is a time when we celebrate our freedom our liberties, our family, and the little things that bring us happiness. This is such a false holiday because many Native American Indians are mourning during this time. It is sadly ironic that the holiday culminates with a meal that represents subjugation, deprivation, and intense suffering, which is exactly what they did to the Native Americans. Of the 270 million turkeys killed annually in the United States, the vast majority are raised in industrial animal factories. A single slaughterhouse is capable of killing 360 birds per minute, or 518,000 in 24-hour period. Like all industrial farm birds, turkeys are not covered under the Animal Welfare Act or the Federal Humane Slaughter Act. They endure extreme stress from the time they are born until the day they are slaughtered. Each of these birds is an individual with a strong desire to avoid pain and seek pleasure. In industrial animal factories, turkeys are helpless in avoiding the cause of their suffering. Ultimately, our choices determine their fate. So please consider these thoughts before you go and buy your turkey. I'm going to stop here as a part 1. Now in part 2 of the Thanksgiving series, I'll be talking into the roots and origins of this holiday.